spikes with the number of new cases, because you have a certain projection of new cases, and then a whole nother city comes on top where they're in their logarithmic phase. So those ones that I talked about that had test results greater than 13% positive, all of those states or all of those counties are in logarithmic phase. That means there are a lot of counties that aren't, and we're excited about those counties that have been testing and still finding quite flat, and hopefully maybe Sunday or so or sometime this weekend we can go through all the states and the curves again so you can see where, you know, the California and Washington are still steady, but we're watching very carefully because we see that you can go from this to this very quickly, and this should not be happening any longer in new places if people are doing the social distancing, washing their hands, not getting together in large groups more than 10.
Again, so I look at the graphs all the time.
Yes.
And you have many
Yes.
flatliners. I call them flatliners. I'm amazed at them. And you have a couple that are up. It's hard to blame the flatliners for not doing a good job.
No, I don't want to say that. No, don't. No. Thank you, sir. I don't want, in fact, I want to praise the states that, and I think I want to be able to call them out and show you their graphs so you can see they've had steady small cases. They're testing, and they're doing a lot of testing, and their percent of test positives are under 5%. I mean, we have a whole group of states who are testing, and their positivity rate is under 5%. We know what it looks like on the logarithmic curve. You're in the 13%, then 15%, then 26%, and then 35%. That's what we're trying to prevent. And it's the metro areas that are absolutely crucial in this. And so if you're in a metro area or you're in a small city, please make sure all of your friends and family are following the guidelines. That's the best thing we can do.
Because I saw those pens going 5 minutes ago. They were they were thrilled. And the fact is, yes, we compare them to Italy, one place. But we have many places that are really doing great. And I think that's what Deborah meant. She didn't mean all of them. So when you write your story tomorrow, maybe you'll write it correctly. She was talking about one state, and another state is, you know, having a hard time. And they're closely associated. And by the way, the people are doing a very good job, including the people that live there. But when Deborah was talking about Italy, she was talking about the one, and then the other was lower. And then you have mostly states that have been unbelievable. So she wasn't talking about the average of everything. She was talking about an individual state, which is, I think, still better than Italy. Italy's having a hard time. By the way, Spain is having a hard time. France is having a hard time. But our states, generally speaking, it's like lots of different countries all over. We have many of those countries are doing a phenomenal job. They're really flat, and I think that's what you meant. I don't know. I don't want to speak for, but I thought that's what I understood she meant. Yeah, please.
About that though, because coronavirus is present in all 50 states. You said before that when you implored mayors and governors to be serious about this, you said once it shows up, mitigation efforts are too late. So how do you then square that with this notion that some states are doing well? I mean, the virus doesn't abide by
because some states, they stay in better, they're not touching, they're not whatever it is, they're not going out, they're not in groups, and some states are not probably as good, or for whatever reason, or they also live a lot closer. You know, New York is very dense, and, you know, California's pretty dense too, and they've got a very good record going so far. We hope it doesn't spike up, but it's very flat. We have states that are doing incredibly well. When I looked at some of them, I looked at some states that I would have thought maybe wouldn't have done as well, and they're really flatlined. Hope they stay that way. I hope they stay that way. Say it, Jim.
Sir, isn't that the point, that you want those states to stay flatlined?
I want them. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No. But when Deborah mentioned about Italy and our country, she wasn't referring to our country. She was referring to one state.
She's encouraging people to do a better job of following these social distancing measures. That's what I'm understanding.
Okay, so my understanding, I'm going to let her say it, but I think that everybody would have to be thrilled with the way most states are doing. Thrilled. The flatline states, states that have almost no bump. I mean, I would think. Now, then you have others where, for whatever reason, they're higher. That's different. But you can't condemn people living in a flatliner with people living in something where there's the big bump or the bigger bump, or more akin to Italy, where they have some very unique problems. In all fairness to Italy, they have some very unique problems. But if you'd like to come up and...
So how many flatlines do we have? And
A lot of
how many
them.
do we have? How many? How many do we have?
So why don't I bring you the whole deck again, and we'll divide out the states so you can see them, because you really have to see each state separately. That's why I started with, there are states where you've heard me talk about how concerned I was. These are states that before the guidelines went out or right after the guidelines went out. I mean, you can look at it, it's on the website if you go to the healthdata.org, about when governors made clarity about closing their states as far as the social distancing, the washing of the hands, the bars, the doing takeout. And you can line that up with the presidential guidelines. And not all states, when the presidential guidelines came out, immediately followed the presidential guidelines. Not all states did. There are states that also may have gotten many more seeds from outside communities. That certainly is one of the issues that New York and New Jersey, Connecticut, and Rhode Island are facing. The virus came in from multiple places into those states. It was undetected early on, and they have a very logarithmic curve. What I'm saying is even one of those curves in one county, in one city, is one curve too many. So I am passionate about everyone following the guidelines because of the outlier curves. Maybe that was a better way of putting it. The outlier curves in specific counties is to make sure that doesn't happen anywhere else.
You feel better if every state did a stay-at-home order?
Well, I think most of the states have done that. I think one death from this is one death too many. I mean, I come out of epidemics and pandemics. We know what to do. I know we don't have a vaccine, and I know we don't have a therapeutic, but we know what can be done, and others are doing it, and most of the people in the United States are doing it. It's our communities. It's every American that has to make these changes, and I know they're really hard, and I know it's hard to remember. I mean, I have to say to myself every day, because I'm around very important people, to never touch anything, and I'm just paranoid now about touching things. I'm sure you all are too. I mean, we've gotten to the place where we don't go to your places on Pebble Beach. We go to the one that's open-aired because, I mean, you're trying to protect your reporters. I mean, I understand that. We're all trying to protect each other, and we all have to adapt to this new reality that we're in right now. And I believe everybody is trying really hard, and I'm just asking them to try really, really hard for these next 28 days, because they will make a tremendous difference. We see that evidence. And so it's like having a vaccine or a therapeutic, because we know what works, and we're asking everybody to apply what works. And I know it takes amazing attention